I am thrilled today to have with us Lori Lyons. Now, she's a seasoned marketing strategist, but with a very unique approach. And you've probably heard that before, but you got to listen in because this is really important. She specializes in incorporating marketing strategies into your website design and making them effective lead generators. And that's what I think a lot of different websites that I've seen, they're not really the lead generators, they're just let's plop our information out there. So I'm really excited about as we dig into this today. But she's got over 35 years of experience and expertise that extends, she's so young, she's 35, to small business owners, coaches, and consultants, and helping them build their online presence that's not only going to attract, but convert into clients. And so, in addition to this work, Lori also hosts her own podcast, the Encore Entrepreneur Podcast. And this features in-depth conversations with successful entrepreneurs on business and marketing topics. And it sets it apart because of her talent for distilling these insights into actionable tips and offering both inspiration and practical strategies for business growth. And she's really your go-to expert for taking your online presence and marketing strategies to the next level. And I know I've worked with a lot of coaches over the last few years, and I'm a coach as well, but I know that there's so many people that struggle with this. So I'm excited to tap into all of your greatness and really start to share with our audience why are our websites still relevant, Lori?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Sally.
My
So,
pleasure.
so many business owners, there's social media, there's all this free stuff out there that they're like, I don't need a website. I've already got one. It's 10 years old and it's still hanging out there and I can just let it go. Well, what's happening is there's so much out there in the digital landscape
Mhm.
that you really need a foundation for your marketing and a foundation for your prospecting and lead generation. And that foundation is your website because
Mhm.
you typically, and you should own it. So you want to make
Yes.
sure it's yours. You can do with it what you want, and you can bring everything that you're doing in a digital world so that it lands back on that website. And then you collect all the leads that come in on the website, and then they're yours. So
Mm.
that is really one of the biggest reasons to have a website. Besides, still the old same old things about websites are still valid. It still validates who you are as a business. It still authenticate. I never can say that word. I should find a new word. Authenticates you as a who you say you are. It
Mm.
and one of the things that I like to say is social media is the soundbite. You get little bits and pieces of you here and there, but your website is the full story.
Yeah, I actually had that happen to a lady I was meeting with earlier today, or was it yesterday now? They all run into each other, where she had seen what I had on my socials, but she went to my website and she's like, oh, I never had no idea all of these other things about you until I went to your website. So I can absolutely relate to what you're saying when the big picture shows up on the website, because how much can you show your big picture in a little blurb on a social platform, in addition to all of your, your posts and things like that. So why is it so important for us today, or more important for us today? I think because I think socials become so busy,
Right?
and there's so many different platforms that we could be on. And so why is it that you're finding that having that really strong lead gen within your websites is the key?
Yeah, well, let's put it like this. And I'm going to back up, give a little
Sure.
foundation for the answer because social media is sexy. It's the thing
Mhm.
we all want to go on and do on. And it's a lot of, and there's so many, like you said, there's so many platforms that we can go to. But if I'm a prospect coming to look to work for you, Sally, and I want to find out who you are, I'm pretty busy and I don't have time to go on this platform and go search for you and find out everything that I can about you and then go to another platform because it's a different message on this other platform. And then I go to LinkedIn and I find out all your business history. And then I go to TikTok and I watch, your sense of humor on I don't have time for all of that. But if
Mhm.
I want to find out, I'll go right to the social media, right to your from social media to your website, and it's all laid out there. It tells me who you are. It tells me what you do. It tells me if you understand my problem and if you have the solution for my problem, and you get it because you've been there, and all of this that's
Mhm.
on the website now. In addition, if I had seen something on your social media and you had put a call to action on the social media
Mhm.
that said, you know, contact me or let's schedule a call or, get on my calendar that led me back to your to your website,
Mhm.
then I'd have a place. And now I've become somebody you can talk to because I've given you my information. And
Mhm.
that came from the social media. Now I'm not just on rented real estate of social media. I'm yours.
Mhm.
You can talk to me one-on-one
Yeah.
through your email nurture sequence and your email marketing.
So that brings up another element of of the whole picture, which is really having that nurture sequence. So how do you go about working with your clients? Like I'm just gonna say you've got the website started, you've got something up there that they're promoting, and then how are you building out that email nurture sequence? Because I think that's one of the most important pieces
Right.
to stay in front of your ideal clients.
Right. And when we work with our clients, there's a couple of things that we require because we work with people who are successful and they want to show their success. So they have to have branded photos. They
Mhm.
have to have a lead magnet that leads them to this email nurture sequence. And we don't
Mhm.
put websites up anymore that don't have that because that's one of the key features of the lead generation. So
Mhm.
once we've done that and I've given you something of value because you've given me your email address. So here's my gift for doing
Mhm.
that, or vice versa. This is some information you want from me. So I'm gonna, the ethical bribe. I'm gonna give you that for the
Mhm.
email. So then I send that to you. And there's two things that we like to do in that initial welcome email is welcome them, but we also and this is going to be double important in as of this recording in a couple of weeks when
Mhm.
Google they start hitting you up for spam. So you want to have a double opt-in now. You want to have
Okay.
it so that the recipient says, yes, I'm going to double check. It's kind of like the security codes that you're
Mhm.
getting all over. Oh, pain, but
Yes.
there's a reason for it. So then once that happens, then you get a link to click on the free gift that you get.
Mhm.
Once all that happens, now you can start having a conversation with them. You can start
Mhm.
sending them what we call a nurture sequence that just keeps going and talks, gives them value. And Gary Vaynerchuk said it best. He said it's jab, 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 punch. You give
Mhm.
value, you give value, you give value, and then you can make an offer to your potential clients. But the more content, the more value you give, the better. And it can be videos, you can give them an additional, PDF that has more information on it. One of the
Yeah.
things I like to give is a photography checklist,
Okay.
because that's part of what we have. So yeah, so the more you can talk to them in a genuine way and give them more value and tell them who you are, then the better. And that's the greatest the way to do that is through an email sequence.
Mhm. Now, a lot of people are sometimes fearful of giving out too much information and then not being able to go in to offer a product. So tell me how you
Right.
work with that, because that I think is a big challenge a lot of people perceive or
Yeah.
feel when they're giving away all this free information.
Well, there's a couple schools of thought on it. The first school of thought is you give them the what, not the how. So you
Mhm.
talk about this is what you need, but if you want to know how to do it, then
Mhm.
you work with me. But there's also the other school of thought that's what I call the Amy Porterfield school. Amy
Mhm.
Porterfield, if you're not familiar, she is, like the goat of
Yes.
business, the,
Yep.
the godmother of email nurture sequence. And in one of her podcast interviews, she said, if you go back through and listen to all my content or look at all my stuff, you will get my entire program that I sell for a nice price.
Mhm.
But you have to go through and find it. You have to then go through it and put it in order. It's all there,
Mhm.
but it's not in order and it's not in a way that makes sense. So
Mhm.
that's, I'm not saying when you give out value, you go, okay, here's step one of working with me. Here's the first thing we do, and here's all the content. Here's how to do it. You can mix it up, or you want to mix it up. You want to do it in a way that people are going to say, oh, I do need that. Let me call
Mhm.
Sally or let me call Lori because she can help me with this. Or this is just very overwhelming. Let me
Yes.
have somebody else do it. Or it can be like, okay, now I understand what I need.
Mhm.
Now I can have somebody help me do it. So
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's I think it can be very overwhelming for
Yes.
most people because you think, okay, I don't mind doing an email here and there, but to constantly have to do them and then to try and come up with all these freebies and how to come up with all of these ideas, I think that's where the barriers come in. And, you know, because you're already doing so much else to promote yourself, but, you know, getting that email sequence in place and having one that's, I would say, repeatable. You know,
Yes.
maybe it's a 3 or 6 month or, you know, even a month repeatable process that you're going through to be able to be in front of your audience. Now, how often do you recommend being in front of your audience from an email sequence?
I like to say if you're sending them out the nurture sequence that's getting to know that's going to come out
Mhm.
every now and then, I would say on a rotating, on a random basis every 5 to 7 days. 5 days one day, 7 days another, 6 days one, maybe even 4 days. So it's a little bit of a surprise, and it's not like, oh, it's Monday morning, I'm going to hear from Lori kind of thing,
Mhm.
which either could be good or it could be bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending. But also there's, if you're doing a launch, of course, you're going to do it more frequently.
Mhm.
Um, there are some people out there that are emailing you like almost every hour, it seems.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
quite honestly, that drives me crazy because it's, consolidate. But
Mhm.
it really is up to you and what you're doing at the time, and what makes sense for your program and what your products and services are. And like I said, are you doing something special like a launch? Then yeah,
Mm.
you're going to do it more. And most
Yeah.
of your prospects will understand that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, you know, what I'm hearing so far is that it's so important to have that. I mean, we've all heard that the only thing you'll own is their email.
Right.
Right? We've heard that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's getting yourself in the habit of creating this. Now, when
Right.
you're working with a client, are you creating the material alongside them or are they creating their material? Because I think a lot of people struggle with the copywriting or knowing
Sure.
how to actually make an effective email sequence to get for the get to know me or for the freebie or for the event. Because it can be seeming pretty heavy for a lot of people to be able to
Sure.
think about having to get all of that done. So what's your
Yeah.
recommendation?
Oh, well, and I do both. I work with and I work for.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times it's just templates. It's
Mhm.
most people, when you start writing an email and you're sending it out to them on a regular basis, if you do a sequence that rotates every 6 months, for example,
Mhm.
most people aren't going to remember what you sent month one, week one, day
Mhm.
one on month seven, day one, week one. So you can find a really good sequence that works for you. And as long as it's current, then you can just keep sending those out. And those can
Okay.
be anything from books to, books I like, to something that's trending. And, if you're a fashion stylist, it could be what's trending
Mhm.
for coming up for
Yeah.
spring in 2024. It can be anything trending.
Mhm.
Um, but for us, when you're sending out a welcome email from an, an initial email sequence,
Mhm.
I like to keep them short. I like to keep them to the point. I like to keep them like, how's everything going? Here's a little bit about it. You know, a couple of minute read, because they're going to read it.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say I still have emails in my email sequences that are way too long, that are one on my to-do list to go in and cut them down. Because,
Mhm.
2 years ago, it was the longer the better, all the gifts, all the fun stuff. And they're still really darn good, funny emails. But I do need to go in and cut them down. I was looking at them the other day. I'm thinking, oh, I need to put this on my list because, I just haven't, once you get them set up, it's easy not to think about it
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm. So now what other lead gen strategies are you using with your clients?
Yeah, we're making sure that their social media has a purpose. We
Okay.
are not necessarily social media experts. There's a lot of people out there that are, but if you're working with a social media person and you're working with us, then we'll make sure that your campaigns, that everything is working in flow, so that
Mhm.
what you're offering as a social media can come back to your website and can also be part of your possibly your email nurture sequence. But the biggest mistake and the biggest thing that we see is you don't make a call to action on social media. You
Mhm.
don't have something that is a way that they can contact you. It's a lot of fun posting stuff out there, but if you're not if you're not gathering me as a client, then what's the benefit of it? So we
Mm,
spend a lot of time with that. Let's go through your social media campaigns. When you're working with your social media person, send us your content for the month,
mhm.
and let us help you decide what is a good strategy call to action for that can come back to your website. Um, and just we help them with, even with when you're networking in person, there's so much is back out in person now, and people are having networking meetings where they're eyes to eyes, toes to toes, or
Mhm.
even still on Zoom. There's still so many networking events on Zoom. We will help them craft that message to say,
Mhm.
put their call to action in there, what their ideal client
Okay.
is, and make that special. Help them with
Mhm.
that.
Okay. Because I think, as we're getting back face to face again,
Yes.
which it's taken us way too long, I think. But definitely we're starting to feel comfortable again being there, but to understand that we're not just showing up, but we're showing up with a reason. And we want to build that relationship, obviously, and really build that, attraction and that connection with somebody, but also letting them know that you're in businesses and this is what you can help them with. And I think
Right.
a lot of entrepreneurs are either their call to action is really scripted and sounds scripted,
Yes.
and they leave out the relationship building thing, or they're really a dynamo at understanding, having a conversation with somebody, and then be able to work their call to action within that. So I think
Right.
there's two different elements there that I've recognized, at least in the face to face and on Zoom. What
Yeah.
people
It's
do.
it's funny. I had a business coach a while ago that when she would talk about networking events, she's like, and she'd put her, like her face up to you, and she'd put her finger up. Now this was on Zoom, so it's, but she'd go, the purpose of a networking event is to make sales calls, is to make sales connections, and to get, like, whoa. And I'm like, honey, you've never been to a networking meeting in the South, because it's a little more than that. But that's what we're all there for. We're all there to, to develop relationships and advance
Mhm,
our business. So in
mhm.
a lot of ways, she was very right.
But it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people,
It is. It
right? Very
really is.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
just depends on your style.
mhm. Yeah.
Everybody has their own style.
Exactly. So I think, as you're talking about coming over to the website and having the right website with the call to actions as well, I'm presuming that most people now are most of the people that you're working with, do they have online courses, or is it in person, or, you're working with businesses, not just coaches. So how are you finding that the marketing elements of them flow from client to client?
Well,
Because
it's interesting. I just came back from, as of this recording, I just came back from a business trip. Okay, it was a business cruise. And and there were 450 people, marketing people on this ship.
Mm,
And marketing meant they were business owners that wanted to learn about marketing. They were actual marketing people, and a wide variety of ages, types of businesses, and everything. And almost every single one of them said they can't wait to do in-person events again.
mm,
That they forgot how good they were. And however, having said that, depending on what the goal of the event is, there's, and I'm not an event planner, so I might not
mm,
quite have this right, but you have sales events and you have fulfillment events that come after the sales.
mm,
And especially in the coaching world, we come into these big events and you sell your coaching services, and then you do fulfillment events to get to finalize the services. So as the general rule, most of them said they would still do their sales events virtually for several reasons. It helped them budget wise, because it
mhm.
was definitely a lot less expensive than the big halls and doing the big
Yeah.
the big in-person events. And the virtual, anybody could come in, so it didn't matter where they came from, they could
Mhm.
still attend. On the other hand, some of the larger coaches were like, no, we're going to go back to live, because people are craving it.
Mm.
People are craving that one-on-one. And myself, I'm like, I don't like sitting on Zoom anymore. you know
Uh-oh.
So- no, not for this. I'm just talking about, you
Yeah.
put me in my chair for 3 days and I'm going crazy now. So,
Mhm, mhm.
So it's,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of a mixed bag of both for a while.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so too. I'm already recognizing that there's a lot of that happening locally as well as internationally. I really like the virtual because it opens me up to the world. So
Yes.
that I think is a huge bonus because it would never have happened before,
Right.
where we
Right.
didn't have this ability to connect with people globally. So, I mean, I was today just on a call with a lady from New Zealand that had a group of people together from all over the globe. So it was really fun. And I get to expand my knowledge and my network by doing that. So now, as you're working with your clients, I don't know if you can speak to this, but what's the role of AI and what you're doing today?
I love AI. We've been, everybody's like, oh, I'm so afraid of AI and oh, my AI is taking over the world. Well, you know what? If you've been doing, and hopefully it won't turn on when I say this, but if you've had an Alexa or a Siri for a long time, you've had AI in your house.
Mhm,
AI is part of Ring doorbells. AI is part of calendar systems. Google is AI.
mhm,
It's been around for a long, long time. But what's cool and it's fun is, studying all the things that it can do for you as a
mhm,
business owner. And as a as a business owner with what I do, I've spent a lot of time studying it and I've gotten to be really good at talking to it and priming it and, you know, stroking what I want out of it. And,
mhm.
sometimes it's just a matter of playing with it. And I would say if you're sitting there as a business owner, go on YouTube and look at some videos on how to do it because there's a lot of information starting to come out and it's changing I mean,
Yeah.
what's good today is may not be good last week, but
Mhm.
staying up with that, I found it, I was watching a YouTube video and I don't know how old this kid was, but if he was 15, it's probably more like 22 or 23, but he was excellent at,
Yeah.
had a really good style in teaching. And so, yeah, I think AI in the marketing world and the digital world is here to stay. I think
Mhm.
it's a matter of how you're going to incorporate it and what you're comfortable incorporating it. And just like any technology, like there are people that cannot figure out how to work their email systems. There are
Mhm.
going to be people who can't figure out how to do the AI and they'll hire people to do it. And then there's people who love the AI and they will help anybody. So
Mhm.
I think it's going to be part of our world for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think so
If it
as
doesn't take over the world.
hopefully it won't do that, but I think there's lots of great uses for it. And
Yeah.
especially from those of us that might be a little bit more challenged on coming up with the right copywriting for our
Right.
posts or our freebies and all of that, all of those different things that we've been talking about today,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
how to actually show up and have that, as you said, the jab, jab, punch.
Yes.
Or
Well, and
the
if you
three or
teach
four
it,
jabs first, and then but,
yeah. And if you
you
season
learn
it,
from others.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you season it to talk in your voice so that it represents you and it becomes
Hmm.
you have to take the time to do that,
Yeah.
to teach it how to be you, just
Mhm.
like anything else. It's like hiring a VA. I'd have to teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
They can't just come in and start doing it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think if you the more you play around with something, the less fear you have of it. And
Mhm.
you can see
Mhm.
what the magic of it is.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
a new world.
I still haven't tried the AI photos of myself yet. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I did that
That
last night.
one.
I did play around with that last night. I uploaded a headshot and I was like, okay, make me a fairy godmother and make me this. And at first it was like, okay, I'm not 20 and like skinny. I need a more older godmother that's a little more mature.
Fun.
And will you cover the chest area, please?
Yes.
But yeah, you hit on a good point. It's a really good foundational starting point, and you can go in and add your own stuff to it if that's how
Mhm.
you start. So yeah,
Yeah,
idea
I know that
generator.
there's a lot of great copywriters or people out there as well that are still marketing. And they're very talented. So we
Yeah.
have options today on which direction we want to go if we're not comfortable with AI or if we are. And then also to leverage the people that have studied this their whole life and are excellent at it. There's so many different options. So
Yes.
now one of the last questions I have is what is the biggest mistake business owners make when planning their marketing?
Ooh, one of the biggest mistakes is relying solely on one platform
Mm,
and also not having a website. So whether, depending on and it can be a one-page website, and yes, a landing page is a website. So don't, you still need that, but it's not having a website to land everything on, and just relying on your social media, or just relying on LinkedIn, or just relying on YouTube. You still need to have a place that's going to be yours, and it's going to be static, that
Mhm.
you can nurture and change. And so it's not static. You can do what you need to with it as the
Mhm.
times change, and as your message changes. And you
Mhm.
want to make sure also that your problem solution generated to your ideal client. We've
Right.
gone an entire episode without saying ideal client. We almost made it through. But I would lose my marketing card if I didn't say ideal
Yeah.
client once.
Well, and I think a lot of people have fear on narrowing down their niche to have an ideal client,
Yeah.
right? They leave it very broad and don't narrow it down. And that also can cause a lot of confusion with your audience, and a lot of um, less engagement, because they're not
Right.
even knowing, who are you serving? You're not talking to me. You're just talking general, as
Right.
opposed to specifically to me as an individual. So I think that is one of the keys that I've recognized with a lot of entrepreneurs as well, is that branding,
Yes.
that
Yes.
niche
And
marketing.
that's the same is true on your website. Is you want to talk to you, meaning
Hmm.
in the you person, not the third person. So,
Hmm.
if you say, um, how is your website generating you leads, then that immediately puts it into your possession, not
Hmm.
the general population.
Hmm.
So your is a powerful word.
Okay, perfect. Good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So this has been incredible, because there's been so many elements in here that you're working with your clients on. I've taken copious notes so while we've been chatting, but it certainly is the foundation.
Mhm.
Having a strong website is the foundation of your business, because typically when somebody does a Google search, it's going to come up with your website first before everything else. Everything else will fall below that. And so having that available, number one, is important, especially if you're business to business, but even if you're business to client, and they are looking for something to do with you, and they've seen your name or been referred, boom, they're going to put a search in. So I think that's a really great foundation.
Mhm.
And just before we finish, how often do you need to update it?
Update your website.
Yeah.
Website is like skirt links. It changes with the fashion, it changes with seasons. And there is a style, and that's trending in websites. So if someone comes to your site, and it's been, I right before we got on a call, I had a call with a client whose website was built in 2018. And as soon as I looked at it, I knew it was an older site, because there are some things that are trending and current, and and it goes through just like everything else. Right now it's you know large images and bright color,
Mhm.
and and it's going full screen, whereas a couple of years ago everything was very boxed and
Mhm.
very aligned. It's also, you want to make sure that your mobile version is mobile friendly, because I laughed and I said, when we have to start designing websites on a phone, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
But so we design on a laptop, but we design for mobile. So everything
Mhm.
that we do, said, how is this going to look on mobile? And then once we finalize the design on a laptop,
Mhm.
then we go in and we adjust everything for mobile. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's almost building a whole nother site. So you want
Yeah.
to make sure it's mobile ready and mobile friendly. And that drives a lot of the design and a lot of the trends, and what's new and happening. And
Mhm.
so anytime your message changes, anytime that it starts to seem stale,
Mhm.
change it.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of a website. You don't print 100,000 copies and have to live with them for the next 5 years. They're changeable.
Yeah. We just think, oh, do I have to go and do that chore too?
I know, I know. Get somebody you like to work with on it,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they're going to be a very close relative in your business for a long time.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. That's awesome. I really appreciate all of the insights that you shared with us. And so how can people find you?
Yeah, there is a great website called LoriLyons360.com. and it has all of my connections on it. It has all of my social media. It has all of my lead magnets. It has all of my, you know, my scheduler. You can get to me on Zoom from there, everything right there, LoriLyons360.com. So rather than going through every single social media platform, we'll just send everybody there.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure that they have that link. And Lori is spelled Lori and Lyons is Lyons, so that people find you.
Perfect.
There's
Yes.
lots of different ways to spell both of those names, so I thought I'd
There
be
are.
specific. So if they're just
Yes.
listening in, they can grab that website. So LoriLyons360.com. That would be awesome. So we'll make sure that we put that up in the show notes for being able to connect. So if you are sitting on the fence, if you have your website from 2018, even 2020, you probably need to refresh it. And Lori is an expert in doing that. And so I hope that you're able to connect with her. She's shared all sorts of great advice here. And sometimes it can feel really overwhelming for anybody wanting to have a website or wanting to develop one, or thinking that we can do it on our own and have the same impact as somebody that is a professional and knows the ins and outs.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend that you connect with Lori if you have any questions whatsoever, because she's been doing this for a while and she's an
Yes.
expert at it. And you can tell by how she answered all the questions today that she really is an expert and can guide you down that right path. So make sure if you love this episode, that you follow, you share, you like, because we have more guests just like Lori that are going to astound you and make you have the success that you truly desire. So thank you so much for your time today, Lori. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was fun. Thank you for having me, Sally.
My pleasure.